Hey there, welcome back to Special Educators Resource Room podcast. This is Jennifer from Positively Learning. Boy, am I glad to be here today. I don't know if you could tell, but last week, my voice, I was feeling pretty under the weather. I don't know if it was the true flu or just a cough, but it wouldn't go away. I feel so much better now. I'm hoping you haven't caught whatever is going around. I do want to start this podcast episode off with a question that might feel slightly uncomfortable. Well, let's start off actually easy. Has your caseload grown this year? Maybe not all at once. Maybe you got one new student in September, another in October, a behavior plan revision in November, new goals in January. Nothing dramatic, but just more. More students, more goals, more documentation, more responsibility. But here's the uncomfortable question. Did your data plan grow with it? Or are you still using the exact same system that you built when your caseload was much smaller and your energy was higher? If you felt that one, stay with me, because today we're going to be talking about the silent mismatch that can create so much stress. Your caseload grew, but your data plan didn't. And that gap, that's where it feels overwhelming. Let's zoom out. Back in August, you probably built a data system with intention. You created binders, tabs, color coding, schedules. Maybe it's Google Forms or even a spreadsheet. And you thought it through. When am I going to collect data? How often? Where will I store it? And it felt manageable because at the moment, it was. But here's what no one talks about. Caseload growth is rarely dramatic. It's gradual. And gradual changes are the hardest ones to notice. One new student, that doesn't feel like a big deal. But one new student with 5 goals, that's 5 new data points. And now let's add behavior tracking, communication logs, progress report deadlines, IEP amendments, reevaluations. Your workload shifts 10% at a time, but your system can stay frozen like it's August. And now you're trying to fit 18 students into a plan designed for 12. That's not inconsistency. That's capacity overload. And this is when we start the guilt spiral. You start thinking, I skipped collecting data last week. I didn't graph that goal that I meant to. I forgot to print the new data sheet, and I haven't even looked at that binder section or the binder itself in a while. So instead of thinking, maybe this system needs updating, you might be thinking, I need to do better. And that's the spiral. You might start promising yourself, I'm going to catch up this weekend. I'm going to stay late one day. I'll fix it during planning. But when was the last time catching up actually reduced your stress long term? Catching up doesn't fix the structural mismatch. It just puts a patch on it like a Band-Aid. And then next week, that same pressure returns. Data plans are not permanent. I think we need to say that again. Data plans are not permanent. We treat data systems that we've built like they're sacred. Like once we build them, we have to stick with them no matter what. But think about this. Think about you adjust curriculum when students need it. You adjust behavior supports. You adjust schedules. You adjust seating charts. But we act like the data routines are locked in forever. So if your caseload grew 25 to 30%, your data plan cannot remain identical. Something has to shift, whether it's the frequency, the method, the priority, or the rotation. And here's the part that might feel bold. It's okay to collect less often. We're not doing it less thoughtfully, just less frequently. And that's okay, because collecting imperfectly on all the data points feels worse than collecting consistently on the data points that matter the most. So let's make this practical. We are not going to do a full overhaul of your data system. No one has time for that. We're going to do a recalibration. This is your action plan. Step number 1, do the math. Count your students, count your total goals. Now ask, how many realistic data touch points can you do in 1 week? Not the ideal number, but the real number. So if you have 20 students, 5 goals each, that's 100 goals. Now you might only have 10 meaningful data blocks per week. So you're not going to try to hit 100 goals every week. That is mathematically impossible. And if you are able to do that, please let me know your secret. I just know when we try to do impossible things, that's when burnout happens. Here's your action step 2. We want to build in a stagger. Not every goal needs weekly formal data. Some can be bi-weekly, rotated, observational, or embedded in the natural routines that are already happening. For example, if you have an academic fluency goal, maybe you're going to collect that data weekly. A long-term functional skill, maybe bi-weekly. A behavior trend, maybe daily, but you're going to simplify it. So it's just check marks. You don't reduce the quality. We're increasing the sustainability. Action step number 3, shorten the collection window. Data collection should take 3 to 5 minutes per student. If it's taking 15, 20 minutes, the tool that you're using might just be too heavy. So you could try 10 responses instead of 25. A yes-no tally instead of narrative notes, or embedded work samples instead of separate probes. Simpler systems get used, complicated systems often get avoided. Now here's the deeper layer. When your data system consistently makes you feel behind, we're running into always feeling like, I should be doing something. I need to be doing something. I forgot to do something. And that background noise drains your energy. And we could be using that energy in so many other places. But when you recalibrate, it's like you're gaining control back. And that control can reduce stress because you're not behind. You're just operating with an outdated plan. Outdated plans deserve updates, not guilt. So this podcast episode wasn't really about the data. It was about your capacity. It's about recognizing that your workload changed, and now I'm giving you permission to change your system too. Because sustainability isn't about doing more, it's just about making those adjustments. And when your data routine fits current reality, I would say you'd stop dreading it. I don't know if that's actually true, but you'd stop avoiding it and you would stop panic collecting before meetings. That was kind of my specialty. You move from reactive to strategic, and that makes sense. So if your caseload grew this year and your data plan didn't, this is your sign. Not to work harder, not to stay later, but to recalibrate. Count the data that's real, adjust what's outdated, and build a plan that fits this version of your classroom. You're not failing, you're just evolving. And that sounds like a good plan to me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'd love to hear what you think. If you feel inclined, please let me know. Send me an email, leave a review for the podcast. I would love to hear from you. And I'll catch you next time in the Special Educators Resource Room. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'm dying to ask, what'd you think? Be sure to hit the follow or subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. You can find the show notes and links for everything mentioned in this episode at positivelylearningblog.com. See you next week for more special education solutions.